But now I'm a lady, I've learned to be more polite.
Good afternoon from Castle Goring, from Mickey and from me. We have so much ground to cover today that we're going to plunge right in without further ado, because I actually have so many questions that I have enough for 3 separate videos, and I'm afraid I can't burden you with 3 separate videos quite so quickly. So if I may, without further ado, the first question is from Kimberly Gonzalez, who I have to tell you is a very pretty young black girl. And you're going to see why it's relevant that I identify her for what she is in a second. Sometimes the things we're okay with accepting for others have a way of swinging back onto us. Can you imagine the outcry from the Sussexes if there were a satire sketch starring a representation of Archie or Lily? Now you see why I identify her fully, so that you can see that Meghan's colour card doesn't work with thinking people of either colour, or indeed of any colour. She also continues, which is slightly off the theme, but I will cover it since she asked it. About this "is he nice" saccharine comment. I do love it. Thank you so much, Kimberly Gonzalez. You've hit the nail on the head. I understand it to mean, quote unquote, "is he gullible, compliant, vulnerable, so that I can have my way?" Question mark, end of quotes. Because if he weren't, it indeed would not make sense to her. Oh dear, I love these comments, and they are so hopeful because they show that Meghan and Harry's colour card has turned out to be a dud, a real dud. Well, yes, you can imagine the hue and cry that there would have been had Archie or Lily been represented. But of course they're not. They're not represented in The Prince. They are given a wide berth. That is actually reverse racism. That's what that is. It's a form of racism. Or maybe it's just an admission that they're not important enough to be satirized. That is the other possibility. But we'll get to all of that in a second. But I had to read out the second part of the question because it's so relevant, because that absolutely, in my opinion, summarizes the reason, or one of the reasons why. I think that's the reason why Meghan asked the question. I think she also asked it to make sure that everybody would believe, the listener and everybody else thereafter, that the word would be spread far and wide. Oh, Meghan Markle's so sweet and wonderful, you know. The only thing she's interested is in true love and good character. And is he malleable? Oh, sorry. Is he nice? Is he compliant? No, sorry, not compliant, not compliant. Oh, the truth will insist on slipping out. Oh, God. I mean, what are we going to do? We can't keep on having the truth slip out. Is he kind? Which means, is he adult? Is he a real pushover? Well, we all know the answer to that now, because we've heard the donkey braying for the last 2 years, very publicly. And actually, he was doing a bray or two before. So, Charlotte Pembroke wants to know, hello Lady C, you made me laugh so much in this video. I think she means the last one, obviously. I almost cried. Thank you very much. That's a desirable objective. My question is, I read that Migraine expected an apology, big block capitals, from the royal family after her Oprah interview because the sweet, sensitive, delicate creature that she is had been so hurt by them. Do you think this is true? Is she really that audacious? Audacious, my dear, is a wonderful word, and I think it's very appropriate here. But I think there are a few other words here that equally could stand the test of reality. Delusional, for starters. Yes, evidently, she did say it. She got her people to repeat it. She got them to announce that she was disappointed that the royal family hadn't apologised to her. Poor Meghan. Can you imagine being victimised in that way? A £30 million wedding for someone of her stature. I mean, let's not forget, we're not dealing with Norma Desmond. We're dealing with Meghan Markle. She was in Suits. She was Rachel Zane. She was a paralegal. Slap him once, slap him again. Yes, she did say it. She did. Does it not say everything that needs to be said about her? You know, when I wrote my book, I said that Meghan was overconfident and that if she didn't watch out, her overconfidence was going to trip her up. My goodness, how right I turned out to be. But that degree of overconfidence is not even arrogance. It is delusional. It is clinical delusionalism. It is, don't bring those pills to me. I'm Napoleon. No, I'm not Jane Doe. I'm Napoleon. We're rarely dealing with more than one flying over the cuckoo's nest, I have to tell you. Ursula Keen Kays says, good description of me, Gain, is a quote that comes to mind by Mae West. She's the kind of girl who climbed the ladder of success wrong by wrong. I have to tell you, some of you guys are so astute. You're so on the ball. You are such a treasure. I cannot resist reading out comments like this because I think they are absolutely on the mark without the shadow of a doubt. Disba D says, why is Markle looking much too sweet and pretty in the cartoon when she isn't? And Catherine looks like Cruella, and nothing even nearly like her. She looks hard and angry. Well, my dear, I have only looked at a few seconds of The Prince, so I cannot pretend to be an authority on the subject. I know if I were Meghan, having had the paper pass under my nose, I would now be a total authority. But I'm not Meghan, and therefore I actually believe that until I'm fully briefed on anything, I am not an authority. However, putting that aside, I saw just enough of it to get the measure of the tone, because it was sent to me by someone. Yes, Meghan is very attractively presented. Catherine is very unattractively presented. But the thing about a program like this is that it's like when I joke. Let me put it this way. I'm going to scrub what I was about to say, and I'm going to put it like this. All my friends know when I'm joking, I never mean what I'm saying. Not when I'm being witty. When I'm being witty, I usually mean what I'm saying. And I don't often joke publicly, but privately, I do joke. I actually have a reputation for a rather good sense of humour. And if I'm joking with someone, if I'm joshing someone, I never give a hint. You know, I think only gutless people convey messages via humour, and whatever I am, I'm not gutless. I usually say the opposite of what I mean. And this, evidently, if I am correct in my assessment, and I could be incorrect because I've only seen a little bit, but I have relied upon a wide selection of people and their input. The characters in The Prince represent the opposite of what they are. The fact that Meghan is pretty and sweet and stable and reasonable is not something that, if you look at all the other characters and how the casting works, I don't think it's necessarily a compliment. Indy Lynn says, no cartoon characters based on children's US celebrities. I'm imagining a cartoon showing a privileged Northwest. Well, of course, that's never going to happen because the cartoonists would not be allowed to send up the righteous. Because remember, we are dealing with members of the Sanhedrin. If you know your Bible, the members of the Sanhedrin were arch hypocrites with no love in their heart and full of their own importance. And they took themselves very seriously. They were all righteous, fabulous Pharisees and Sadducees, stomping and gliding through the temple like Meghan in her ridiculous green dress in the Abbey. There's no way the Sanhedrin would ever have allowed anybody to mock a Pharisee or a Sadducee. They couldn't afford to, because you can't mock pretentious people. You can't mock phonies. You can't mock frauds. You can't mock hypocrites. Because if you do, you are unmasking them. You can only mock people and get away with it who are true, who have integrity, who have character, and who the public will know that they have character. Do you guys begin to see where I'm coming from on this? There's no way somebody as vulgar as Kim Kardashian would ever be mocked by the wokeists. It just wouldn't happen. She is too much a fully paid up member of the Sanhedrin. And the Sanhedrin all protect their own kind. Also, of course, they realize that if they send up each other, people are going to quickly realize, oh, the emperor has no clothes on. Those aren't new clothes. Those are no clothes. The only way the emperor can get away with wearing no clothes and passing them off as new clothes is when there is universal consent, or if not universal consent, a great degree of consent that the emperor's new clothes are beautiful rather than non-existent. Gabriella Simon says, but children aren't public persons, quote unquote. Isn't it possible to stop the mocking of the Cambridge children with legal measures? Gabriella Simon, I hate to disillusion you. I think you sound like a very nice lady, and I am delighted to receive your question. But sorry, children are public persons as well. The fact of the matter is, there are no legal measures that can be taken to actually make the media do the decent thing. There, in Britain, is a degree of consent from the press, the very publications that Harry and Meghan have refused to engage with, that they will not go after children, that they won't use children's photographs, that they won't identify children. So the very organs of the media that Harry and Meghan have attacked are the very organs that go out of their way to protect children. Do you begin to get a picture of the completely contradictory objectives of this couple and of how completely anomalous their conduct is? I'm a cameraman says, Harry should have been the first to object to such a blatant attack on his nephew, considering he is building a career on how the media has destroyed his mental health, even though the media have always been kind to him. Got it in one. The media were very kind to Harry. They bigged him up in a major way. They took every little crumb that was thrown from the banquet that he was gorging himself on and said, oh, isn't His Royal Highness generous? Look at this. He has been endowing us with largesse from his magnificent table. Isn't he munificent? Well, Orlando Bloom is a friend of Harry's. And Orlando Bloom seems to have had no problem with mimicking Harry and sending Harry up. Now, in the ordinary course of life, that might be acceptable. For instance, Joan Rivers used to mock Prince Charles in the most ribald way, and they were friends. I know this is a fact because I knew Joan Rivers, and one of Joan Rivers' closest friends is a friend of mine. And in fact, there's another friend of Joan Rivers who is very closely connected to me. And then to think of it, there's a third person, as I'm speaking. And Joan used to even, I think if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I'm right, I'm going off memory now, but I'm pretty sure Joan even went to Charles's wedding. That shows that Prince Charles has a really good sense of humour. But you see, that was the acceptable face of mockery. It did not involve children. And I will get to the matter of children and how suitable it is for them to be sent up as figures of fun in satires or in any form of mockery in a little while. Because what's really interesting is that Orlando Bloom took action to protect his kids' privacy. His picnic, as they would say in Jamaica, is off limits, but not Harry's nephews and niece. They're not off limits. Sophie Turner also demands privacy for her offspring, but she's happy to have her hand out and bank the proceeds. Does this strike you as double standards? Does this strike you as anomalous? Does this strike you as hypocrisy? Let me put it this way. If any friend of mine betrayed my trust by taking part in a program that was sending me and my children up, I might be able to accept if the send-up was on the good side of satirism, but I wouldn't be accepting it if it had anything to do with my children, especially young children. Diane Bozzy says, Dear Lady C, I usually agree with you, but I have to say you really missed the mark on this one big time. Thank you, thank you. I am very happy to hear from you. Children should be protected, royal or not. He is too young to understand what is going on. Why doesn't his Uncle Harry tell his friend to stop? Maybe for the same reason he hasn't tried to see them on his trips to the UK. I think this is his way of getting back at Prince William. Well, I don't know that it's his way of getting back at Prince William. I think you could be onto something. There could be that element as well. Certainly, Harry has shown that he has no regard for people he's supposed to love, and that he will say the most appalling things or allow the most appalling things to be said about or done to people who he is supposed to love. So that could be very indicative of a spiteful and vengeful streak. Yes, it could. And a covert one as well. So let's throw cowardice into the mix. However, he can't tell Orlando Bloom to not take part in a show unless he's going to pay him the big bucks that he's obviously getting. He can dump Orlando Bloom, but I don't see how he would be within his rights to tell somebody that he can't do a role. I think Orlando Bloom should have asked Harry and explained exactly what the whole thing was all about. And if Harry then gave him the green light, the onus is on Harry. Completely on Harry. Because I have to tell you, I am rather uncomfortable with children being satirized, because when they go to school, they stand a very good chance of being teased by their schoolmates who might have seen or heard about the show. So there is a reason why, by and large, children are not main characters in TV shows, especially those that send up the royal family, or indeed anyone else. Yeah, children need to be protected. I agree. Anya says, I really enjoyed The Prince, and I think it doesn't favour anyone except the butlers because it portrays Harry as the dolt that he is and Meghan as the overinflated and hate against Kate joke that she is. I actually think it's good that the storylines are so ridiculous for the Cambridges, because it shows that they have such clean records that they had to make things up about them. That's a very interesting point. And I'm trying to show both sides of this coin, because I actually believe in freedom of speech, and I do not believe in censorship unless it's absolutely necessary. And I also believe in responsible reporting and responsible entertainment. You know, I could have made an awful lot more money than I have made had I been less honourable than I am. And I look around and I see all sorts of people who are not content with the level of success that you get when you are honourable and decent, and gorge themselves, cramming down their throats and everybody else's all sorts of dubious content. Bitter Beauty says, I have seen both The Windsors and The Prince. I think they're both funny. The funniest takeoffs of the royal family still belong to Tracy Ullman, though, in my opinion. And Denise Meredith says, one of my friends sent me the trailer for The Prince, thinking that as a staunch monarchist I would be offended. I can honestly say that it is satire and very funny, because the characterizations are the exact opposite of the real people involved. That's a very interesting point. It is entirely voiced by adult actors, most of whom are British with good track records. I follow the creator of The Prince on Instagram, and he shows vignettes of The Prince, and I can say that if it mocks anyone, it mocks Harry and Meghan. That's very interesting to hear. One shows Harry taking the LA Metro to his new job in a coffee shop, where he is greeted by a film producer who works as a team leader in the coffee shop. The team leader asks him what he wants to learn, so Harry says that he wants to learn how to make tea because he has never made any, and he also needs to know about how to make the water to make the tea. Laugh out aloud. Well, I am laughing out aloud. I think you're beginning to get the drift. I'll wrap up with one more. I'm just here for the comments, says Lady C. Honestly, I don't feel the cartoon is that bad. It's pretty funny and is over the top in its portrayal of the royal family. I feel if they were to sue, it would make them look petty and that they don't have a sense of humour. I don't like how they portray Meghan as saintly and humble, but Harry is a total idiot who is obsessed with the ice maker and it's hilarious. Well, we've covered why Meghan is being portrayed as saintly, because to be portrayed as anything else would be too revelatory and would actually call time on the whole tune, and it would no longer be satirical. And yes, you're right, the royal family can't do anything. First of all, they can't because it's not defamatory. Secondly, if they did, they would look petty and they would look ridiculous. And that's why I have read out this comment, because it accords absolutely with my sentiments and, incidentally, the sentiments of their advisors. Stacey N.Y. Beck says, "Hi Lady C, thank you for the wonderfully informative and entertaining videos. I'm glad you like them. With Harry's proclivities to wearing the Nazi uniform and his wife's proclivity to plagiarizing, do you think his new book will be a knockoff of Mein Kampf?" Oh God, I couldn't make it up. Stacey from Pennsylvania, USA. Well, Stacey from Pennsylvania, USA. I love you. My God, I haven't laughed so much in at least 48 hours. Well, sorry, I just have to gather up my thoughts. Maybe the book will be Harry's contribution to society, the way Mein Kampf was to a previous leader, because he also thought he was well worth hearing and that he had brilliant ideas and that the public would profit from his pronouncements. Well, we all know how that ended. And we also know that it is a book that is still stocked worldwide and sold. It's one of the bestsellers of all time. I don't think Harry's book is going to be one of the bestsellers of all time. But who knows? Let's hear what he has to say. Let's hear how much dirty laundry he doesn't only wash, but scrapes over rocks and maybe reshapes so that what was one thing becomes another. Jane Evans says, Lady C, Harry's wife has hired Opera's party planner for her 40th birthday bash. Guess she'll have to make charitable contributions to pay the people to come, since charity does begin at home. Well, my understanding, and I will have to wait to find out, which might happen just as this video is being uploaded, regrettably. So I might actually miss the moment and have to address this again in the next video. But my understanding is that this was one of Harry and Meghan's, let's punch him in the eye, punch him in the other eye, let's go for the nose, let's just go pow wow 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 pronouncements. You know, anything to get everybody talking, anything to keep people interested, you know, baiting the line so that the fish will bite. It's actually a very sick game. Propaganda at this level and this intensity is always sick. But is it always true? I would submit this is going to be one of the many instances when it is shown to be anything but true. Visual Dog says, Meghan's 40th birthday party in California is on the same day as Obama's 60th birthday in Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, a continent apart. This will present quite a dilemma for Oprah and other celebrities that Meghan would want at her party. Oh, I don't think it will present any dilemma at all, even if it had been taking place, which she would have been awfully dumb to expect it to take place, because any hostess knows that if you are going to throw a party, the first thing you do is find out that there's nothing else conflicting on that date. But then again, of course, I'm an experienced hostess. Meghan clearly is not, certainly not where party giving is concerned. If indeed she had scheduled her party for the same date. But I don't think she did. I think this was a diversion and a distraction, not only to keep them in the news, but also to deflect attention away from the questions that they would find embarrassing, chief of which is, were Meghan and Harry asked to Barack's 60th birthday party? No, God. Harry most likely said to her, Meg, we're going to have to do the old-fashioned version that royalty and aristocracy used to do when they weren't asked to something. We're going to have to travel abroad. And Meghan's going to say, but H, we can't travel abroad. No, we can't travel abroad. That we can't do. No, first of all, there's all of the inconvenience with COVID. And then, I don't want to leave baby Lily. I'm just starting to bond with baby Lily. And also, H, they might photograph me and, I'm really pretty blown up from all those hormones that, that people are saying that I've been given hormones, and we all know that's mean because I lactate quite naturally. So no, H, no. I've got my reputation as a great beauty to take care of. And, as soon as I gain 5 pounds, like my mother. And, not saying my mother isn't an attractive woman, but really, after all that plastic surgery, you don't think I want to look like her? Not a chance. No, H, we're staying right here. We're going to make an announcement that you're giving me a party. That's what we're going to do. And Larumba says, question for Lady C. I'm baffled as to why all the royal Twitter accounts, Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, and Kensington Palace, have chosen to wish the wife happy 40th birthday. Who is she? A former minor member of the working royal family, now left and living abroad, who is a constant thorn in their side, wanting to harm the monarchy. So why would they do that publicly? They don't wish happy birthday to loyal working royals like Sophie Wessex. I'm finding it all inexplicable. Please explain the reasons, Lady C. Thank you. Well, Larumba, the reasoning is very simple. It is a refinement and a repetition of what I said earlier about Meghan's role in the satire being sweet and rational, and everybody else's being the opposite of their characters. Like, George is a sweet little boy, not the Hitlerian monster that he is being portrayed as being. Catherine is one of the sweetest, kindest people you could meet, not the monster that she's portrayed as being. And Meghan is not the person that she's portrayed as being. A variation on that theme is taking place at the moment. The royal family don't have to wish Sophie Wessex a happy birthday publicly. They can do so privately and will do so privately. And it doesn't matter that the public aren't in on the act. They have wished Meghan a happy 40th birthday because they do not want to be criticized for ignoring her. They want business as usual while this conflagration is taking place. They want the veneer of normality. They are quite determined that they are not going to put a foot wrong in civil terms. That's why they have wished her a happy 40th birthday. But you might notice that they have all been at pains to wish her a happy 40th birthday, emphasizing the 40 mark, knowing that Meghan is so vain that the one thing she's going to hate is having turned 40. You know, it's like saying to somebody you can't stand, "Oh, my dear, you're looking rather well tonight." The implication being that you don't usually look well at all. There are civilized ways of plunging the knife in, and that's one of them. There are actually things going on behind the scenes that cannot be spoken about and that will not be spoken about. But you seriously don't think that the royal family is letting this debacle unfurl without doing something to try to limit the damage, do you? Because believe me, if you do, you are quite wrong. The Queen, in her 70 whatever years she's been on the throne, has met monsters like Ceausescu, has entertained them, has had to be scrupulously polite and civil. If she can do that to real monsters and mass murderers, you surely don't think she has any trouble about being civil with little Meghan and Harry the Dolt? I mean, really, think about it for a second. You know, they are minor operators in a big boy's game. He's too dumb to have actually absorbed the lessons that have surrounded him all his life. And she is too arrogant, and she doesn't have the brain power either. Bruno Spataro says, Lady C, what do you think about the pictures about Jack Brooksbank cheating in quotes in Capri on Princess Eugenie that were released by the Sugars on Instagram and various Twitter accounts. Well, it's nice to know that the Sugars are earning their keep. It's ludicrous. The whole thing is ludicrous. And it shows how completely sleazy, how completely low, how completely unsophisticated the people that make these comments are. Everybody in the Aegean, Mediterranean and Caribbean goes on boats. I mean, you don't have to be a billionaire to charter a boat. You can be ordinarily well off. Jack Brooksbank he works with George Clooney. He is whatever they call it. I forget what they call it. Something. But basically, he's a glorified salesman. I can't remember what the job title is. It's a little bit too modern for my old brain to be remembering right now. He was doing his job. You mustn't tell the Sugars, please, please don't tell the Sugars that in the Mediterranean, on the Aegean, and in the Caribbean, when people are on boats, they're in swimsuits. Shh. Sometimes the girls are topless, especially in the Mediterranean. Shh, don't tell anybody. The Sugars must not know. They must be able to make complete idiots of themselves by thinking that a man who is on a boat in a swimsuit with a girl who is in a swimsuit, whether topless or not is beside the point. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly innocent. It happens hundreds of thousands of times per DM. And for the Sugars who won't know what that means, it means a day. So every day, it is a common or garden occurrence. It couldn't be more common than scratching your nose or putting back your hair, and it's equally innocent. But it shows the depths to which these people will sink, and it shows how malicious Harry and Meghan's supporters are, and how they will trash anybody to boost their beloved Meghan and Harry. That is truly sick. Billy Marion says, Lady C, as an American, I have always felt that our fascination with celebrity is a substitute for the lack of royalty in our society. Royalty sets a standard which one admires, and celebrity could be considered the qualitative equal. On the other hand, where the dolt and the Medusa are concerned, celebrity is considered trash. Well, I will defer to your superior opinion on that one. Okay, I will defer to it. And I actually agree with you, because all of the republics have a fascination for the royal families, not only in America, but in Europe. I mean, the German magazines, the French magazines, the Italian magazines, they're full of not only our royalty, but their own dethroned royalty, as well as the other ruling and reigning families of Europe and elsewhere. They're full of them. There are whole tranches of segments of the media that are dedicated to nothing but covering royalty. And I agree with you. Royalty, I have actually said it. I think I even made the point in my book. Oh, Harry and Meghan, sorry, Meghan and Harry. I should get that right. Meghan and Harry, the real story. Because I, for a second, forgot who really comes first, and I deserve to be smacked. Naughty girl. Royals are brought up to be stars, whether they have the personality or not, whether they have the looks or not. That is why they are brought up to perform in a regal way, because they are expected to be lifelong stars. And they are expected, rather like the old movie stars under the studio system, to behave themselves in such a way that they protect the institution that they represent, and that they represent the studio quotes or the institution not only adequately but to the best of their ability. Celebrities, I have to tell you, I know this from my own personal experience, because I have done an awful lot of charity work in my time. And when you get a royal on board, it always sells out. If you get a celebrity on board, you struggle to sell tickets. Not only because the celebrity doesn't have the prestige, no matter how famous the celebrity is, but they are also known to be unreliable. I'm speaking about events that I was involved with, where the guests of honour were going to be Sophia Loren, Elizabeth Taylor. They didn't sell out as readily as anything to do with Princess Alexandra, who I'm sure many of you in America have never heard of. Princess Alexandra is the Queen's first cousin. She's beautiful and she's lovely, and she is the ideal princess. And in her 80-something years on this earth, she's never put her foot wrong even once. So there is prestige beyond stardom, and that's called royalty. Cheryl R. Lee says, while it's true that Americans love celebrity, only a fool would trade the honour of being a senior member of the British monarchy in order to become one. Cheryl R. Lee, you are absolutely right. What Harry and Meghan have done is an act of gross stupidity. They have stepped down in the world, hoping that they would step up. Him because he's a dolt, and she because he's a dolt, and she because she was ignorant and arrogant and greedy and overambitious and overconfident. A fatal combination. You're absolutely right. And you know, I'll tell you better. It's not only with royalty. I have often made the point, privately usually, to people in the media who sometimes are extraordinarily naive as to how the world works, that there is a level of stature way beyond celebrity. Way beyond celebrity. People you've never heard of, you will never hear of. But we all know who each other are. We do. I know who they are because half of them are friends of mine. I don't only mix in the public world, let's put it that way. And to most of these people, publicity is anathema. They would sooner bite off their tongue than appear on a television show, or speak to the press, or be in the media. So it's not only royalty, it's very well established people, not only aristocracy, but also good, substantial families. They don't need the attention, and they shy away from it. Hazel T says, Lady Campbell, there are many very vocal people who produce work on YouTube and other sites that are now very disappointed and angry regarding the lack of action by the royal family to deal with Harry and his wife. There seems to be a very real feeling that many once loyal subjects are actually turning away from the royal family. They feel the royals have failed to defend this country from the relentless attacks by two spiteful, vengeful, entitled people who have shamed this country and its people. I think these bloggers and writers are gaining more and more support, as so many people can't understand why no action is being taken to effectively deal with these traitors. Do you listen to other YouTubers who cover this subject, and if so, what do you think? No, I do not listen to other YouTubers, and I therefore cannot speak with any authority, but I do basically suspect that what you are saying is right, because I get very frustrated comments from viewers as well. And I have tried to point out to them that things are being done behind the scenes. The royal family is a prestigious institution that cannot afford to be down there in the gutter with gutter snipes and with scum. They can't afford it. There are decent ways of doing things. I get the fact that some people are frustrated. I get the fact that they feel that the royal family should be doing more. But you know, the royal family is doing what it can, and it is doing it not in a weak and wishy-washy way, but it is doing it in a decent way. And this is an evolving situation that is going to take time to deal with. But you know, we are not living in the Middle Ages. We are not, as I have said before, in 16th century Padua. You know, you can't send out somebody to say, oh, when they're going down that alleyway, just remedy the situation. That's not how things are done nowadays. It can't be done. You have to respect the rights of even those who are violating your rights. The only way you can play the game is to play it with clean hands. Clean hands ultimately prevail. It just sometimes takes time. Look, for instance, at the history of the 20th century. Look at, and I now put this into a more historic context, and I take it off minor personalities onto really momentous personalities. Look at Hitler. Look at Stalin. Look at Mao Zedong. Look at Pol Pot. It took time for their adversaries to prevail, but ultimately they did. People need to exercise a bit of patience and understand that not every situation has a remedy that is so glib or instantaneous that you can go psh, and the solution is there. You know, intricate situations require finesse. They also cannot take place always in the open forum of debate. People need to understand that. And if people are supporters of the royal family, yes, they can and should express their frustration. My recommendation is to stop writing things on the internet and start to write to Buckingham Palace. If you really want to make yourself heard, that's what you should be doing. But if you want to blow off steam on the internet, fine, please go right ahead and do so. But we need to be realistic, and we need to understand that this is a highly complex situation, and Harry and Meghan have damaged their own families, not only his family, hers as well. They have damaged their own families far more than they have damaged the reputation of the British people. And it's not weakness to exercise a degree of decorum and a degree of measurement as you set about putting something right. I hope I have made myself clear. Note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. I'm sorry it has taken longer than normal, but sometimes one has to traverse the terrain and take as long as is required. If you have enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions coming in the comment section. They are invaluable. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.